Breaking news! What if I told you that the Denver Broncos are building something that most of the NFL hasn't even noticed yet, and that this could completely change the balance of power next season? Because, behind the scenes, while other teams follow outdated systems, a strategy is developing in Denver and is already proving to be one of the most efficient and dangerous in the entire league. But the real question is, are we witnessing the early stages of a team about to explode and become a true Super Bowl contender? Before we proceed, don't forget to like if you truly believe in the future of this team. And I want to know your opinion. Leave a comment right now. Go Broncos! We'll come back stronger than ever. Because if you're optimistic about the future of this team, this is the time to show it. Now, let's get straight to what's really happening behind the scenes. Now let's get straight into it, because what's happening here is something special. While most teams across the NFL still operate under a system where the head coach has limited involvement in the draft process, the Broncos are doing the exact opposite, and it's no coincidence that this approach is starting to show serious results. Around the league, you'll find examples of coaches who essentially step back and let general managers handle the decisions. That's been the norm for years. But there's also a pattern. Those teams struggle to build consistent contenders. In Denver, it's a completely different story. Sean Payton and George Payton are fully locked in. According to what we've gathered, right after the league meetings wrapped up, they went straight into full draft preparation mode. We're talking about early mornings, long hours, completely off the radar, no appearances, no distractions, just pure focus. And that level of commitment reflects a philosophy that Payton has believed in for a long time. If you're responsible for winning games, you need to be directly involved in choosing the players. And here's where things get even more interesting. This isn't just about effort, it's about results. When you look at Sean Payton's track record as a drafter, it's elite. Historically, he has found more Pro Bowl talent after pick 60 than any other head coach in the league. That's not luck. That's a system. That's vision. Now bring that into the Denver Broncos context. In his very first draft with the team, a year where the Broncos had limited picks due to previous trades, Payton still managed to deliver immediate impact. Marvin Mims Jr., selected at pick 63, became a Pro Bowl player and even earned All-Pro recognition. That alone would already justify the pick, but it didn't stop there. Riley Moss stepped in and became a key part of one of the league's best secondaries. J.L. Skinner contributed as a starter on special teams. Alex Forsyth, a 7th-round pick, emerged as a starting center, something you almost never see at that stage of the draft. Think about that for a second. The NFL standard says if you get 3 starters out of a draft class, it's considered very good. The Broncos got 4, with only 5 picks. That's not just good. That's elite-level drafting. And then came the next class. Bo Nix arrives and immediately looks like the future of the franchise. A Pro Bowl-caliber quarterback who is already breaking records early in his career and showing the kind of leadership this team has been searching for. Even if nothing else had worked out in that draft, landing your franchise QB makes it a success. But once again, it didn't stop there. Jonah Ellis showed serious promise with 5 sacks as a rookie. Troy Franklin projected strong production despite injuries. Depth players like Chris Abrams-Draine stepped up when needed, even making big plays like interceptions in key moments. And then you see late-round value again with Devin Vele outperforming expectations. What really stands out, though, is something fans don't always talk about: accountability. When a pick didn't work out, like Audric Estime, Payton didn't hesitate. He moved on quickly. No ego, no stubbornness, just a clear decision to adjust and improve. That's the mark of a leader who is focused on winning, not proving himself right. And this is exactly where things start to get even more intriguing for this franchise moving forward. Because when you zoom out and connect all the dots, you begin to see a pattern that should genuinely excite every Broncos fan watching right now. We're not just talking about isolated good picks here and there. We're talking about a system that consistently produces starters, impact players, and in some cases, game changers, even without premium draft capital. And that's the part that should have the rest of the NFL paying very close attention. Think about it. In back-to-back draft classes, Sean Payton has already shown that he can extract value at a level most teams simply cannot match. Whether it's finding a Pro Bowl talent like Marvin Mims Jr. outside the first round, identifying key defensive contributors like Riley Moss, or building depth that actually translates onto the field, this front office is operating with precision. And then you add Bo Nix into the equation. This changes everything, because now, for the first time in a long time, the Denver Broncos are not searching for answers at quarterback, they're building around one. A player who is already being viewed as a top-tier talent heading into next season, someone who has shown he can lead comebacks, produce touchdowns, and elevate the entire offense. That stability physicality at the most important position in football gives Sean Payton and his staff something incredibly powerful: clarity. Now the draft strategy becomes sharper, more focused, less about desperation, more about refinement. Instead of trying to fix major holes, the Broncos can start stacking talent, adding pieces that complement what's already working. And let's not overlook another critical detail here. The Broncos are not just drafting starters, they're building competition across the roster. Look at the defensive side of the ball. Players like Jonah Ellis are producing, but still fighting for snaps because of the depth already in place. That's how great teams are built. Not by relying on one or two stars, but by creating an environment where every position is earned. Offensively, it's the same story. You've got emerging weapons, young receivers showing flashes, and a system that's clearly designed to maximize their strengths. Even players who didn't fully break out yet have shown enough to suggest that their ceiling hasn't been reached. And that's a scary thought for the rest of the league, because it means this team is still growing. Now, here's where things get really interesting heading into this upcoming draft. The Broncos don't even need a perfect class to keep this momentum going. Based on what we've seen, if they hit on just 3 players, which is considered a strong draft by NFL standards, they're already in great shape. But with Sean Payton's track record, there's a very real chance they exceed that again. And imagine what that means. Another class with 4 or more contributors. Another wave of young talent entering a roster that's already trending upward. That's how you go from being competitive to being dangerous. That's how you turn playoff appearances into deep runs. The confidence inside the building is not accidental. It's being built on results. It's being reinforced by a process that has already proven it works. And most importantly, it's being led by someone who understands exactly how to identify and develop talent that fits his vision. So now it all comes down to what happens next. The Broncos have positioned themselves in a way where this draft can once again push them forward, maybe even faster than people expect. The foundation is there. The leadership is there. The system is working. Because if you really take a step back and look at everything that's been built up to this point, it starts to feel like this isn't just a rebuild anymore. It's a calculated rise. What makes this situation even more dangerous for the rest of the NFL is the fact that the Broncos are no longer operating from a position of weakness. In the past, drafts were about survival, trying to fix glaring issues, trying to recover from mistakes, trying to find direction. But now, this team has direction. It has identity. And more importantly, it has a blueprint that is already producing results. Sean Payton isn't guessing anymore. He knows exactly what he's looking for. Every pick, every decision, every move, it's all tied to a very clear vision of what this team should look like when it's fully built. And that's what separates good teams from great ones. Consistency and philosophy. And here's something that should really fire you up as a fan. The margin for error is still incredibly low in Denver's recent drafts. When you go through the names, when you analyze the contributions, you realize that the number of true misses is almost non-existent. One clear whiff across multiple draft classes, that's unheard of in today's NFL. That means when the Broncos walk into this next draft, they're not hoping to get lucky. They're expecting to hit. And when you combine that mindset with preparation, the kind of preparation where your head coach and general manager lock themselves in a room, fully committed, fully aligned, you start to understand why there's so much confidence internally. This isn't chaos. This is controlled, intentional team building. Now imagine the ripple effect of another strong draft class. Younger players pushing veterans. More speed, more depth, more versatility across the board. That's how you sustain success in this league. Not through one big offseason splash, but through stacking smart decisions year after year. And let's talk about expectations, because they're starting to change. Quietly, but very clearly. This is no longer just about making the playoffs. With the way this roster is being constructed, with the way young players are developing, and with a quarterback like Bo Nix continuing to rise, the ceiling is getting higher. The conversation is shifting toward contention. You can already feel it. The belief is growing, not just from the outside.